The winter rain hammered against the glass walls of St. Catherine Medical Center as Nathaniel Pierce stood in the marble lobby, questioning every decision that had led him to this moment. His publicist had insisted that attending the hospital's annual winter gala would help repair his shattered reputation. 3 months ago, his former business partner had leaked confidential documents suggesting that Nathaniel had manipulated stock prices, though completely false. The scandal had sent his company's value plummeting and turned his name into tabloid fodder. At 36, Nathaniel had built Pierce Technologies from a college dorm room idea into a global empire worth $8 billion. He had sacrificed relationships, health, and any semblance of normal life to reach the top. Now that empire teetered on the edge because of lies he could not seem to outrun. The board of directors had delivered an ultimatum just yesterday. Stabilize your public image, or step down as CEO. Find a way to appear trustworthy. Settled and human again, he loosened his tie, feeling suffocated by the expensive fabric and the weight of expectations. The gala buzzed with wealthy donors in designer gowns and tailored suits, all performing their charitable duty for tax benefits and social standing. Nathaniel had written a check for $50,000 just to gain entry. The money meant nothing to him. What he truly needed could not be purchased with wealth alone, needing air and silence. He wandered away from the ballroom into the quieter wings of the hospital. His leather shoes echoed against polished floors as he passed through corridors that smelled of antiseptic and something else he could not quite name. Sadness, perhaps, or the peculiar stillness that comes with suffering. He had not been inside a hospital since his mother's death 15 years ago. The memories pressed against his chest like physical weight. Then he heard it. A voice so pure and achingly beautiful that it stopped him mid-step. Someone was singing softly, a melody he did not recognize but felt in his bones. The voice carried pain and hope in equal measure, wrapping around his heart with unexpected tenderness. Nathaniel found himself drawn forward, following the sound like a man under enchantment. He stopped outside a partially open door, marked palliative care. Through the gap, he saw a young woman sitting beside an elderly patient's bed, holding a frail hand while singing. She wore scrubs that had seen better days, her chestnut hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her face held an exhausted beauty, the kind that comes from too many sleepless nights and too much heartache. Yet when she sang, she transformed into something luminous. The elderly woman in the bed smiled peacefully, her breathing growing calmer. Nathaniel watched, transfixed, as the young nurse finished her song and gently kissed the patient's forehead. "Sleep well, Mrs. Patterson. I will check on you in an hour." The patient's eyes were already closing, a serene expression replacing the pain that had lined her face moments before. The nurse stood, stretching her tired shoulders, and turned toward the door. She startled when she saw Nathaniel standing there. "Oh, I am sorry. Are you looking for someone?" Her voice, even in normal speech, held that same musical quality. Her eyes were striking, a warm amber color that seemed to see straight through his expensive suit to the hollow man beneath. "I heard you singing," Nathaniel said, realizing how strange that sounded. "I apologize for intruding." It was beautiful. Color rose in her cheeks. "Thank you. Music helps them rest easier. Pain medication can only do so much." She moved past him into the hallway, clearly uncomfortable with the attention. He noticed the name badge pinned to her scrubs. "Rosalie Bennett door. Do you work here full-time, Rosalie?" The question came out before he could stop it. She glanced at him, clearly trying to place why a man in a $3,000 suit was wandering the palliative care wing. "I work wherever they need me. Pediatrics, emergency, hospice, plus weekend shifts at the clinic on Mercy Street." "Why do you ask?" "Just curious." Nathaniel found himself genuinely interested, a rare feeling these days. Most people he encountered wanted something from him. This woman looked like she wanted nothing more than to finish her shift and go home. That kind of honest exhaustion appealed to him in ways he could not explain. "You must be tired, working so much." Rosalie laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Tired is a luxury I cannot afford. My sister needs a double lung transplant. Cystic fibrosis. The medical bills pile up faster than I can pay them, even with insurance, while I work. I sing to patients when I can because it helps them, and it helps me remember why I became a nurse in the first place. To actually care about people, not just treat symptoms. Her honesty struck him like a physical blow. When was the last time someone had spoken to him so directly, with no agenda hidden behind their words? How much do you need? The question escaped before his business mind could calculate the implications. Rosalie stiffened. Excuse me? I do not need charity from strangers, especially wealthy ones who wander hospital halls during fundraisers. She started walking away, her shoulders squared with defensive pride. Nathaniel followed, his mind racing with an idea so absurd that it just might work. Wait, please. I have a proposition. She stopped, turned, and fixed him with a skeptical stare that would have withered lesser men. If this is what I think it is, you can save your breath and your money. I am not interested in being anyone's mistress or entertainment. No. Nathaniel held up his hands. Nothing like that. This is business. Purely business. The hospital corridor felt too public for this conversation. He gestured toward an empty consultation room nearby. 5 minutes. Hear me out. If you are not interested, I will leave you alone. Rosalie hesitated, clearly weighing the risks of entering a private room with a strange man against her curiosity about what he wanted. Finally, she nodded and followed him inside, leaving the door partially open. My name is Nathaniel Pierce, he began. You might have heard of me. Her expression remained neutral. The tech billionaire caught in that scandal. I read about it. Are you guilty? Her directness would have been refreshing if it were not so uncomfortable. No, but the truth does not matter as much as perception in my world. My company's board wants me to appear more stable, trustworthy, human. They have suggested that marriage might help rehabilitate my image. So marry someone you love, Rosalie said flatly. I do not love anyone. Nathaniel met her gaze steadily. Love is a fairy tale people tell themselves to justify irrational decisions. But I do respect honesty and hard work. You possess both. I am proposing a contract marriage. 1 year, you play the role of my devoted wife at public events. In exchange, I pay for your sister's transplant and all associated medical costs, plus $600,000 for your trouble. The color drained from Rosalie's face. She gripped the edge of the consultation table as if the room had tilted beneath her feet. You are insane. This is insane, maybe. But you need money desperately, and I need respectability. We both get what we need. No emotions, no complications. Just a business arrangement with clear terms and an expiration date. Think of it as a very well-paid acting job. Rosalie's hands trembled slightly. Why me? You could hire any woman in New York, a model, an actress, someone who actually fits your world. Because you are real, Nathaniel said quietly. Every woman I have dated wanted my money, my status, my connections. You want to save your sister? That kind of love, that fierce devotion to family, is exactly the image I need. The media will eat up the story. Billionaire falls for humble nurse who works 3 jobs? Perfect narrative. She shook her head slowly. This is crazy. You are asking me to lie to everyone, to pretend feelings I do not have. To live a fake life for a year, yes, and in return, your sister gets a chance to live. Your medical debts disappear. You could even go back to school if you wanted. Finish that music therapy degree I saw mentioned in your employee file. Rosalie's eyes widened. You researched me? After hearing you sing for 5 minutes, I had my assistant pull your employee records. I know you are 24, graduated nursing school with honors while working full-time, and have been your sister's primary caregiver since your parents died in a car accident 6 years ago. I know you are drowning in debt, but have never missed a single payment. You are exactly who I need. The silence stretched between them. Rosalie walked to the small window, staring out at the rain-soaked city. Nathaniel could see the war playing across her face. Pride versus desperation. Principle versus pragmatism. Love for her sister against everything she believed about honesty and authenticity. I would need conditions, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Name them. Separate bedrooms. This is business only, nothing physical. Agreed. The money goes directly to the hospital, not to me. I will not profit personally from this arrangement beyond Jamie's care. Done. I continue working until the wedding. After that, I go back to school like you suggested, but I volunteer at the hospital on weekends. I will not sit around being useless. Fair enough. Rosalie turned to face him, her amber eyes searching his face for any sign of deception. 1 year, then we divorce quietly and I never have to see you again. 1 year, Nathaniel pulled out his business card and a pen, writing his personal cell number on the back. Think about it tonight. Call me tomorrow with your decision. My lawyers will draft ironclad contracts protecting both of us. Everything legal, everything documented. She took the card with shaking fingers. If I agree, when would this happen? 3 weeks. The board meeting is in 1 month. We need to be married before then, with enough time for the media to pick up the story and see us as an established couple. 3 weeks? She repeated, looking dazed. I need to see Jamie. I need to think, of course. Nathaniel moved toward the door, then paused. For what it is worth, your voice is extraordinary. You should have been on stages, not working yourself to exhaustion in hospital corridors. Rosalie's smile was sad. Life does not always give us what we want, Mr. Pierce. Sometimes it just gives us what we can survive. Those words stayed with Nathaniel long after he returned to the gala. Long after he drove home to his empty penthouse overlooking Central Park, he stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city lights blur through the rain, and wondered if he had just made the smartest or most foolish decision of his life. The wedding took place on a cold March morning at City Hall, with only Carmen Ortega and Nathaniel's lawyer serving as witnesses. Rosalie wore a simple cream dress she had purchased the day before for $200.
I'm feeling like an imposter in even that modest garment.
Nathaniel appeared in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, looking every inch the powerful billionaire the media portrayed him to be. The ceremony lasted exactly 12 minutes. The officiant, a tired-looking woman with glasses perched on her nose, recited the vows with mechanical efficiency. Do you, Nathaniel James Pierce, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. Do you, Rosalie Marie Bennett, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Rosalie's voice caught in her throat. She glanced at Nathaniel's impassive face, thinking about Jamie in her hospital bed, about the experimental treatment that could save her life, about the impossible choice that had led to this moment. I do. The words felt like ash on her tongue. She was lying to a government official, to the world, to herself. But when Nathaniel slipped the platinum wedding band onto her finger, engraved simply with their initials, Ash, she felt the weight of the commitment regardless of its artificial foundation. The photographer Nathaniel had hired captured the moment they kissed. A brief press of lips that held no passion but would look perfect in the press release. His publicist was already preparing by that evening. Their wedding photo had appeared on every major news site and social media platform. Billionaire tech CEO Nathaniel Pierce marries hospital nurse in surprise wedding. The narrative wrote itself exactly as Nathaniel had predicted. The articles painted Rosalie as a modern-day Cinderella, the hard-working nurse who had captured the heart of one of America's wealthiest bachelors. Some stories focused on the romantic angle. Others speculated about prenuptial agreements and gold-digging schemes. None of them knew the truth. Moving into Nathaniel's penthouse felt surreal. The apartment occupied the entire top floor of a luxury building in Manhattan's most exclusive neighborhood. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered breathtaking views of Central Park and the city skyline. The interior design was all clean lines, expensive materials, and cold perfection. Everything looked like it belonged in an architectural magazine. Beautiful, but utterly devoid of warmth or personality. Your room is here. Nathaniel opened a door, revealing a bedroom larger than Rosalie's entire previous apartment. The bed was enormous, dressed in white linens that probably cost more than her car. An ensuite bathroom featured marble countertops and a shower with more jets than she could count. Your closet has been stocked with appropriate clothing for public events. My stylist used your measurements from the boutique yesterday. Rosalie stepped inside, feeling overwhelmed. This is too much. The contract specified suitable accommodations, Nathaniel said evenly. You need to look the part of a Westfield wife. People will be watching, judging, forming opinions based on every detail. That was another thing. He had asked her to take his mother's maiden name for public purposes. Rosalie Pierce sounded better than Rosalie Bennett for media coverage, his publicist had explained. More sophisticated, more fitting for high society. She set her single suitcase down, feeling the vast emptiness of the space. Where's your room? Down the hall. You have complete privacy. I am rarely home before midnight most nights anyway. Nathaniel checked his watch. The gesture she was already learning meant he wanted to escape whatever conversation they were having. I have a meeting in an hour. Carmen is bringing Jamie here tomorrow to see the place. Make yourself comfortable. After he left, Rosalie wandered through the penthouse like a ghost haunting an unfamiliar afterlife. The kitchen was state-of-the-art but clearly rarely used. The living room featured abstract art she did not understand and furniture that looked uncomfortable. A home office was filled with computer screens and files. The only room that felt remotely human was a small library tucked away near the guest bedrooms, its shelves packed with worn books that suggested someone had actually read them. That night, Rosalie lay in her enormous bed, staring at the ceiling and fighting the urge to cry. She had sold a year of her life for Jamie's survival. It was the right choice, the only choice. But that did not make it feel less wrong. Her phone buzzed with a text from Carmen. How is married life? Lonely, Rosalie typed back. But Jamie gets her treatment next week. That is all that matters. The first month passed in a blur of public appearances, carefully orchestrated by Nathaniel's team. They attended charity galas where Rosalie wore designer gowns and learned to smile. Through tedious conversations with people who spoke only in networks and opportunities, they posed for photographs at restaurant openings, their hands linked in false intimacy. They gave one carefully scripted interview to a major magazine. Sitting close together on a sofa while spinning romantic lies about love at first sight, Nathaniel played his role perfectly. The attentive husband who gazed at his wife with manufactured affection. Rosalie tried her best, but acting had never been her strength. She felt transparent, certain everyone could see through the charade. Yet somehow, the world bought it. The scandal that had threatened to destroy Pierce Technologies began to fade. The board of directors approved Nathaniel's continued leadership. Stock prices stabilized and started climbing again. At home, they were polite strangers. Nathaniel left for the office before dawn and returned after Rosalie had gone to bed. They communicated through brief text messages and notes left on the kitchen counter. Can you attend the hospital fundraiser Thursday? Investor dinner Saturday? Requires black tie. My father is flying in next week for a visit. That last message made Rosalie pause. Nathaniel had never mentioned his father before. Jamie's treatment began at Columbia Presbyterian, where Dr. Raymond Foster oversaw her care with cautious optimism. The experimental therapy involved harvesting stem cells, modifying them genetically, and reintroducing them to help regenerate healthy lung tissue. It was painful and exhausting, but Jamie bore it with the same resilient strength she had shown throughout her illness. Rosalie visited every day, often sitting beside her sister's bed and singing softly the way she had with her hospice patients. One evening, Nathaniel appeared at the hospital unexpectedly. Rosalie looked up from the book she was reading aloud to Jamie, startled to see him standing in the doorway. What are you doing here? I wanted to meet your sister, Nathaniel said simply. He approached the bed with surprising gentleness. You must be Jamie. I have heard a great deal about you, Jamie, pale but alert, studied him with the frank curiosity of someone too young and too sick to bother with social niceties. You are the billionaire my sister married. Are you nice to her? Yes, Rosalie interjected quickly. He is very kind. Jamie's skeptical expression suggested she did not quite believe that, but she nodded anyway. Thank you for paying for my treatment. The doctors say I am responding well. Nathaniel pulled up a chair. I am glad to hear that. What are you reading? To Rosalie's surprise, he stayed for over an hour. He listened to Jamie talk about her dreams of becoming a marine biologist, about the sea turtle conservation project she wanted to start, about all the places she would visit once she was healthy. Nathaniel asked thoughtful questions and shared his own love of the ocean. Mentioning a house he owned on the coast of Maine, "You should visit when you are stronger," he told Jamie. "The water there is too cold for swimming, but the tide pools are incredible." After Jamie fell asleep, Rosalie walked Nathaniel to the elevator. "You did not have to do that. She is part of the arrangement," Nathaniel said. "I should know her." But beneath the businesslike explanation, Rosalie had seen something genuine in his eyes when he looked at Jamie, a flicker of real emotion, breaking through his carefully maintained control. 2 weeks later, they attended the annual Metropolitan Museum of Art Gala, one of New York's most prestigious social events. Rosalie wore a midnight blue gown that made her feel like she was playing dress-up in someone else's life. Nathaniel's hand rested on the small of her back as they navigated through crowds of Manhattan's elite. A touch that was meant to look possessive and affectionate, but was merely part of the performance. Then Victoria Ashford appeared. Rosalie recognized her immediately from the photos Nathaniel's publicist had shown her during media prep. Tall, blonde, and stunning, in a red dress that cost more than most people's cars. Victoria had been Nathaniel's fiancée 3 years ago. Their breakup had been spectacularly public, with Victoria accusing Nathaniel of being incapable of real emotion, and Nathaniel countering that she had only wanted his wealth and status. "Nathaniel, darling." Victoria air-kissed both his cheeks, her perfume overwhelming. "How domestic you have become. And this must be the nurse." She turned to Rosalie with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "How charming." "Rosalie, this is Victoria Ashford," Nathaniel said tightly. "Victoria? My wife Rosalie." The word wife clearly irritated Victoria. Her perfect smile tightened. "I must say, this marriage surprised everyone. So sudden, so unlike you, Nathaniel. Almost as if it were strategic rather than romantic." "It was both," Rosalie heard herself say. "Strategic for my heart, romantic for my future. Sometimes love happens quickly when you meet the right person." She reached up and touched Nathaniel's face with genuine-looking tenderness, surprising even herself with the boldness of the gesture. Victoria's eyes narrowed. "How sweet. Though I wonder how long this fairy tale will last once the novelty wears off. You know, Nathaniel does not believe in love, dear. He told me himself many times. He is only capable of transactions. People change," Nathaniel said coldly. "Now, if you will excuse us, we have other people to greet." He guided Rosalie away, his hand tense against her back. "That was convincing," he said quietly, once they were out of earshot. "Almost made me believe it myself." Rosalie felt shaken by the encounter and by her own unexpected defense of their fake relationship. "She is awful." "She is determined," Nathaniel corrected, "and dangerous. She still has connections with several board members. If she suspects this marriage is not genuine, she'll use that information to damage me." The rest of the evening passed in a haze of champagne and careful conversation. But something had shifted between Rosalie and Nathaniel. When they danced together for the first time, his hand at her waist felt less like a prop and more like something real. When he laughed at something she said, the sound seemed genuine rather than performed. And when their eyes met across the crowded room later, Rosalie felt a flutter in her chest that had nothing to do with their contract. The first crack in Nathaniel's carefully constructed walls appeared on a rainy Tuesday evening in late April. Rosalie had spent the day at the hospital with Jamie, whose treatment was progressing well, but slowly. She returned to the penthouse exhausted, wanting nothing more than a hot shower and sleep. Instead, she found Nathaniel sitting in the dark living room, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring out at the city lights. "Are you okay?" The question came automatically, though they typically avoided personal conversations. Nathaniel did not turn around. "My father called today. He wants to have dinner tomorrow night. Wants to meet my new wife," as he put it. "That should be nice," Rosalie offered. Sensing there was more to the story, "We have not spoken in 12 years, Nathaniel said flatly. "Not since I discovered he had been living a double life. My mother thought he had traveled frequently for business. Turns out he had an entire second family in Boston. A wife, 2 children. He split his time between us, playing father and husband in two separate cities like it was just another business venture he was managing. Rosalie sat down slowly, stunned by this revelation. How did you find out? He came home unexpectedly one night, drunk, guilty, wanting to confess. I was 24. My mother had just been diagnosed with cancer. He told her everything the same week she started chemotherapy. The stress, the heartbreak, it accelerated her decline. She died 6 months later, alone in a hospital, while he was in Boston with his other family. The bitterness in his voice cut through the darkness, like broken glass. Now Rosalie understood his cynicism about love, his inability to trust emotions, his preference for contracts and clear terms over messy human feelings. I am sorry, she said quietly. No one should have to experience that. Nathaniel finally turned to look at her. Do you know what the worst part was? I believed him when he said he loved her. I watched him kiss her goodbye every time he left for his supposed business trips. I believed love was real because I saw it in his actions. Except it was all performance. Just like what we are doing now, the comparison stung more than Rosalie expected. We are not like that. We are honest about what this is. Are we? Nathaniel's laugh was hollow. We lie to everyone every day. We perform affection for cameras. We sleep in separate rooms and pretend to be something we are not. How is that different from what my father did? Because no one is getting hurt, Rosalie said firmly. Your father betrayed people who loved him, who had no idea they were being deceived. Our arrangement is consensual. Jamie is getting treatment. Your company is stable. We both knew what we were signing up for. Nathaniel drained his whiskey glass. Did we? Because lately I find myself forgetting this is supposed to be fake. The admission hung in the air between them, heavy with implications neither was ready to address. Rosalie's heart hammered in her chest. She had been feeling the same thing, but had refused to acknowledge it. The way her pulse quickened when Nathaniel smiled genuinely at her. The comfort she felt when he visited Jamie at the hospital. The strange disappointment she experienced each night when they retreated to their separate bedrooms. I do not think we should have this conversation, she said carefully. It complicates things. Everything is already complicated. Nathaniel stood, moving toward her. You were supposed to be a business solution, Rosalie. A year-long arrangement to fix my reputation. But somewhere between the fake smiles and staged photographs, something shifted. When I visit Jamie in the hospital, I am not doing it for appearances. When I laugh at your stories, it is not performance. When I lie awake at night, I am thinking about the woman down the hall who agreed to sacrifice a year of her life for her sister. Rosalie rose to her feet, her hands shaking. Stop. This is not what we agreed to. Feelings were not part of the contract. Oh no. Nathaniel moved closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, see the conflict in his gray eyes. But maybe the problem is that we tried to contract something that cannot be controlled. Maybe what started as pretending has become real. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed urgently. Nathaniel glanced at the screen and his expression changed completely. It is Dr. Foster. He is calling about Jamie. Rosalie grabbed her coat, her heart in her throat. They drove to the hospital in tense silence, Nathaniel exceeding the speed limit while Rosalie tried to control her spiraling panic. Jamie had been doing well. The treatment was working. What could have gone wrong? Dr. Foster met them in the ICU waiting room, his face grave. Jamie experienced acute respiratory failure this evening. We have her stabilized now, but her body is rejecting the stem cell treatment more aggressively than we anticipated. Her immune system is attacking both the diseased tissue and the new cells we introduced. Is she going to die? Rosalie's voice broke on the last word. We are doing everything we can, Dr. Foster said gently. The next 48 hours are critical. She is asking for you. Rosalie rushed to Jamie's room, barely aware of Nathaniel following behind her. Jamie lay in the hospital bed surrounded by machines, oxygen mask covering her face, monitors beeping steadily. Her eyes opened when Rosalie took her hand. Hey, Tiger, Rosalie whispered, using the nickname she had given her sister years ago. You scared me. Sorry, Jamie's voice was muffled by the mask. Not part of the plan. Her gaze shifted to Nathaniel. You came too, of course, Nathaniel said, surprising Rosalie by sitting on the other side of the bed. We are family now, right? Jamie managed a weak smile. You really love her. I can tell. It is not fake like you both think it is. The observation hit like a lightning strike. Before either Rosalie or Nathaniel could respond, Jamie's monitors began alarming. Nurses rushed in, pushing them out of the room as they worked to stabilize her again. In the waiting room, Rosalie finally broke down, all the fear and exhaustion and suppressed emotion overwhelming her at once. Nathaniel pulled her into his arms without hesitation, holding her while she sobbed into his shoulder. She will survive this, he said firmly. She is as strong and stubborn as her sister. I have arranged for Dr. Foster to consult with the top pulmonologists in the country. Whatever she needs, wherever we need to go, we will make it happen. This is not part of our deal, Rosalie said through her tears. You do not have to do this. Nathaniel tilted her face up to meet his eyes. I am not doing it because of the contract, Rosalie. I am doing it because I care about Jamie and I care about you. More than I intended to. More than I thought I was capable of caring about anyone. The truth in his words terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. I do not know how to do this. I do not know how to be your real wife instead of your pretend one. We figure it out together, Nathaniel said softly. No more contracts. No more performances. Just two people trying to be honest about what they feel. Jamie survived the night and the next day. Her condition slowly stabilizing. Dr. Foster consulted with specialists. Nathaniel had flown in from Johns Hopkins and Mayo Clinic. They adjusted the treatment protocol, adding immunosuppressants and modifying the stem cell therapy. It was experimental and risky, but Jamie was young and determined. I have things to do, she told Rosalie from her hospital bed. Sea turtles to save. College to attend. I am not giving up. Over the following weeks, as Jamie's health gradually improved, Rosalie and Nathaniel navigated their transformed relationship with tentative honesty. They still attended public events, but the touches were genuine now, the smiles real. They had dinner together in the penthouse, talking about their days, sharing stories from their pasts. Nathaniel told her about building his company from nothing. About the professors who had believed in him when his father would not. Rosalie told him about her parents, about the accident that had killed them and left her as Jamie's sole guardian at 18. One evening, Nathaniel took her to his house in Maine, the one he had mentioned to Jamie. It sat on a rocky coastline, surrounded by pine trees and the sound of waves. This was my mother's favorite place, he said as they walked along the beach. She would come here when my father was away. I think she knew the truth even before he confessed it. She just loved him too much to confront the reality. Rosalie took his hand. You are not your father. You are capable of real love. I see it in how you treat Jamie, how you have supported me through this entire situation. The contract was supposed to protect us both, but what we have now is real. Nathaniel stopped walking, turning to face her. I spent years believing love was just another transaction, that emotions were weaknesses to be controlled. Then you walked into my life, singing to dying patients, working yourself to exhaustion for your sister. You showed me that love is not about transactions. It is about sacrifice, about showing up even when it is hard, about choosing someone every day, not because you have to, but because you want to. He pulled a small box from his pocket. This is not part of any contract. This is me asking you, Rosalie Bennett Pierce, if you would consider staying married to me not for a year, but for however long you will have me, not as a business arrangement, but as a real marriage. With all the mess and vulnerability and uncertainty that comes with it, Rosalie opened the box to find a ring. Nothing like the platinum band she wore now. This one held a sapphire the color of deep ocean water, surrounded by small diamonds. It had belonged to his mother, Nathaniel explained. She left it to me with a note that said I should give it to someone who made me believe in love again. I did not think that person existed until you. Tears streamed down Rosalie's face as she nodded. Yes, I want this to be real. I want us to be real. When they kissed on that rocky Maine beach, it was nothing like the mechanical press of lips at City Hall. This kiss was fire and tenderness, promise and passion. The kind of kiss that marked the beginning of something true. The scandal that had brought them together faded into memory. Victoria's attempts to undermine their marriage failed when Nathaniel's board, seeing his renewed focus and stability, gave him a unanimous vote of confidence. Jamie completed her treatment successfully, her lungs healing slowly but steadily. Carmen, who had suspected the truth from the beginning, simply hugged them both and said she knew they would figure it out. Nathaniel's father reached out again, wanting to reconnect. After long conversations with Rosalie about forgiveness and healing, Nathaniel agreed to meet him. The relationship remained complicated, perhaps always would be, but Nathaniel learned that holding on to bitterness only poisoned his own happiness. He could acknowledge the pain his father had caused while choosing not to let it define his future. 6 months after the contract had been signed, they renewed their vows in a small ceremony on the Maine coast. Jamie stood beside Rosalie as maid of honor, healthy enough to cry through the entire ceremony. Carmen was there, along with Dr. Foster and a small group of close friends. No cameras, no press, no performance. Just two people who had found each other in the most unexpected way, promising to build something real from a foundation of pretending. When her voice broke the silence that day, singing her vows instead of speaking them, Nathaniel discovered the final truth that completed his transformation. Love was not a weakness. It was not a transaction. It was not something to be feared or controlled. Love was the only thing worth being vulnerable for, and he would spend the rest of his life being worthy of the woman whose voice had led him out of darkness into a light he had never believed existed.